Shazam, issue 19, Josie Campbell writing with Dan McDaid on the art. Next big chapter in this arc, big issue for Freddy, at the very least, with him kind of basically earning the right to still be, well, I probably won't go by Commander anymore. Captain Junior, although he does poo-poo the idea of that name.
God, I do love it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for some reason, so the issue actually starts with Lady Sivana with all the Mr. Mind looking creatures on Venus with Mary. And later on in the issue, some of the villains say, "Oh, Mary's dead," and I'm like, "Okay, I don't believe you." Like, I'm pretty sure she's not, but she is gone for the rest of the issue. She gets blasted with like a blast or whatever from Mr. Mind. Well, I mean, it's Savannah's body, but I mean, it's worth mentioning at this point she has been completely taken over by Mr. Mind. So, yeah, more Mr. Minds coming to Earth, all the rest of it. Or maybe actually, I think that's a flashback to when they first arrived on Earth. Never mind.
Yes.
So yeah, so all this is going on, and Mr. Mind's basically torturing Freddy in his own head. So that's the green emblem, the lightning bolt, whatever you want to call it. Mr. Mind is abusing Freddy, is telling him what he's going to do. See, you wanted to do this to Billy. You wanted to hurt him. You were jealous of him because he always upstages you, yada, yada, yada. And that goes on throughout the issue. We come back to that a little bit as well. Meanwhile, Billy has a really nice heart-to-heart with Bo, the girl from next door that he likes. And there's a funny through line to this scene where he keeps accidentally revealing more secrets to her, so she already knows that he's Shazam, right? That's kind of something that was established last issue. But he just kind of happens to mention that Freddy is the commander. And after he's finished his little speech, he's like, "I'm pretty sure you just outed your brother as commander." And he's like, "Oh, shit." And then a little bit later on, he's like, "Hey, by the way, I like you. I'm into you, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "I know. You just said a minute ago that you tend to hurt the ones you love, so I should get away. You included me in that list, so I had a sneaking suspicion." So I just kind of, he keeps revealing things by accident, and it was kind of funny.
It's very spot on for an awkward teen.
Yes.
Because his mouth just gets the better of him, and it all felt, very true to life. And, Josie Campbell showing that skill. That's why we liked the stuff with Mary in the Mary series, because everything felt like naturalistic in the dialogue. So yeah, love seeing all that here.
And they do a nice thing here where he puts his hand on hers, and then she takes her hand over and puts it on his. They kind of like give it back in a way. So really sweet scene. Really makes you care about these two as a pair of love interests, which is why the issue rips your heart out at the end with the reveal that it gets to.
Which we'll get there. I have some info about that.
Info? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So yeah, Billy goes to confront Freddy, but not as the captain, because the captain's still recharging. So he just tries to confront Freddy, full superpowered as a kid, and gets blasted for his efforts as well. But this is kind of what helps inspire Billy inside sort of he's basically in a void in his mind. And he's basically saying, "Hey, I'll do anything to help Billy. I don't care about having the power still. I'll do whatever. I'll stay here even, just somehow save my brother." And then that's when the big, what's his face? The
Hephaestus.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Appears and says, "Hey, do you mean that, Freddy?" And he's like, yeah. Who are you? What's going on? He's like, "Well, we found that I was with the people who found that green meteor when it first landed on Earth. And because of its power, we devised a test. So basically, you've passed the test by proving that you want to give up everything to save your brother. So because of that, he goes from being the commander to a slightly different, a more heroic-looking version of Captain Marvel Jr. And one of the nice little touches here is that when Mr. Mind was taunting him and saying, because Mr. Mind kind of yells here saying, "What? No, you're pushing me out," kind of thing. But earlier on, when he was taunting him in his head, he mentioned that part of your jealousy and the spite you have for others around you is that you you're so ashamed of your injury and how it holds you back that you don't want to have any kind of semblance of it in your superhero form. So a nice touch here when he becomes the good version of his superhero is that he actually has like a brace on his leg to kind of show that he's still not like, you know, he's accepting that as well. He's like, no, he's not hiding that part of him. He's embracing it. It was a really nice touch, actually, is like bringing that up earlier. But you can see the green symbol kind of shatters on his chest as he kind of becomes, you know, the new version of Freddy.
Yeah, and I like that this was all kind of the test of that green lightning bolt, right? This is like, we need to know if you're going to have this kind of power, if you're worthy of it, which is a little bit different than the wizard, right? Picking Billy. So I do like that it changes up that, you know, the fact that Freddy had to earn this. And then the stuff that Mr. Mind's telling him, like, that's why he made him bigger and older than you know, the captain. Right, that was to appeal to Freddy's, you know, that's how he was feeling.
Yeah, has worse like inner like things,
all of that, and you know, and so here when it embraces, you know, he looks kind of just like an older version of Freddy, right? Kind of like the way that the captain looks like an older version of Freddy or of Billy, and then like you pointed out, the brace, you know, is he's embracing who he really is here.
No pun intended.
And yes, so, but yeah, a lot of fun stuff here, and then. I
guess the only question I have, obviously this green thing came from Venus, it came from Mr. Mind's, you know, world.
Yes.
But did Mr. Mind just like sense it and connect to it, and that's why he was able to go in there when Freddy took it, or?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because we get the reveal too that Mr. Mind, that these worms, right, can separate themselves, right, and that's how they kind of reproduce. And that, so the way that he's able to control multiple people, right? So he's controlling Billy and the giant robots and Georgia, Savannah.
I guess maybe because I want to say there was one inside it. Maybe it's just a case of there was one inside the lightning bolt that linked up with the others once,
right?
Once someone was using it.
Once it was there, yeah, that makes sense.
I guess that makes some sense. But yeah, there's a 2-page layout of Billy and Freddy both being superheroes. It is interesting. We're in a place now where Freddy and Mary have powers from separate sources than Billy. So they all have their powers, but they're all separate. They're not linked to Billy.
Yep. And I also love the lengths at which Josie Campbell gives us to name all the powers after different gods to make things work. So, you know, an explainer on here, which then allowed me to do some research to find out who all these gods are. You know, and then you know we're stretching a little bit, but I do like you know, we have the wisdom of Solomon. Solomon's not traditionally a god, right? It's a figure, and the same here with the cunning of Midas, right? It's kind of equal. So I feel like Campbell really selected these ones to kind of supplement the ones for Shazam. And I'm curious, I got to go back up and look at the ones for Mary, because I wasn't reading. Because what book was that in? That she had taken over and did the stuff with Mary.
It was that weird like miniseries with the Amazon stuff.
Yeah. The crossover during Lazarus. So I now have to go see what she had done, which goddesses she had picked for Mary. But yeah, just seeing the ones here pop up and what each of them what they each represent and how it's a little bit different, but it's still the power of Shazam, which I do love. So just good storytelling throughout.
Yeah. No, nice. So yeah, they hug after they've done all this stuff, but then the sort of the reveal afterwards is that the person in charge of all this stuff, well, it's still Mr. Mind, but the person who's working with Mr. Mind is Bo, the neighbor, and she apparently is the sister of the other Sivana's daughter. So this is Bo Sivana, or Boisha. Boisha, there you go. That's how you pronounce that.
Or Busha, because I'm sure it would be like beauty.
Probably, right?
Yeah. But you know, we've been pronouncing it as Bo because it's been shortened, because she's been, you know, hiding who she is as part of this scheme. And so early on, when she's telling Billy the story about how she killed her mom. Right?
So just to recap that, she mentions that she killed her mom, and when she describes the story, she talks about opening a letter that her mother was getting saying she had cancer, and she specifically says, "Oh, maybe if I told my dad, he's a doctor, he could have maybe done something." I'm like, "Guy, Dr. Sivana, that's this."
Yeah, he's a doctor. And so when all that came to be, and then so I look up this like if this is a character, and sure enough, Both Georgia Savannah and Busha, whatever we're calling her, were in the pages of 52, right?
Oh, really?
There was a Savannah family in there, and that's how we get introduced to Sobek and that whole story with Isis and Osiris. That's part of the plan, is that she's supposed to be this, she's the beautiful Savannah sibling. And in fact, Georgia Savannah goes all the way back to the first Mary Marvel comic in the 40s, right?
Yeah.
So again,
See,
Campbell.
when you said you looked it
Campbell
up,
knowing
I thought you were going to say, she was a character in the Silver Age. I wasn't expecting you to say 52.
Yeah. No, and in fact, even before 52, Boscha was, kind of just a throwaway in one issue where she's in love with Captain Marvel, right? And it's revealed she's a Savannah, and then stuff happens. But the most recent appearance before this was in 52 as part of the Savannah family. And she has a twin brother, although I don't know how much of that's going to stick. It just seems like right now we're going with Georgia and her. So yeah, this was a fun little reveal here at the end.
Yeah, so it puts us in this place where it doesn't seem like Mr. Mind's controlling her. If anything, it sounds like she was attracted to Mr. Mind. Like, oh, this is someone who can actually fulfill the things I want to do. And it sounds like she hates her sister because her sister, all that stuff about, as I felt guilty for killing my mom. It sounds like her sister blamed her for it, right? Georgia hated her for it. So it sounds like, there's no love lost there between the sisters. So interesting to see. It would be curious if her feelings for Billy are actually real, although at this point it does feel like she's just being manipulative based on this issue. But
which hurts, right? Because he was so he was so vulnerable to her, and now she has something else to use against him, right? Like, so yeah, just some fabulous storytelling.
Yeah, the chemistry was real. I'm looking at her top now. Is that the same color Sivana usually wears? Is like a
it's got the kind of greenish
or whatever,
yeah. So oh boy.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Anyway, so the end big cliffhanger though is that they basically unleash all the Mr. Minds, all the worms into the world. It seems like they all come out of everyone's phones, right? It's like
via the app.
Yeah, so the app's basically had them all come out of the phones, and at the end it says, like, Mr. Minds, I'm inside my new host, I'm in all these things, because I'm inside you too, and it says Mr. Mind is in you, it's in me, it's in all of us. So as much as I want to roll my eyes that we're doing everyone's affected by something, because DC Comics, or just comics in general, really, they do that too often. This is at least a little bit funny, because it's the way they're presenting it. There's a sense of humor to this, which I like. So interestingly, it says Shazam 20 is out next month, but then the Worm Overlord story is going to have a big deal in 21. Which makes me, it sounds like 20 might be a fill-in issue then, based on the way it specifies that.
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Yeah.
To see where that comes through.
It's really weird if the next issue is still part of the next part of the story. It'd be weird to also promote 21 separately at the same time.
No, it's not. So it's Sina Grace doing a story about Billy and John Kent. So it's a special guest writer stops in to tell a very special one-off. Jonathan Kent, son of Superman, is in Philly when something funny happens to the Rock of Eternity. So, and
I'm sure we noticed this when we did the solicits and just forgot about it, and that's okay because we're never going to remember that. Yeah, this was a fun issue. I think this story has really, it's really hit some nice moments. I think the end of this Freddy story in particular I've really enjoyed. So this is technically the end of this arc, although this is one of these things where the end of this arc very much is just like setting up, like, because it ends with this big thing where all this Mr. Mind stuff's happening. So it feels like these two arcs are going to be kind of one big arc in a lot of ways. They've just decided to name it this way for splitting's sake. Whether that's because they want to do two trades or just because it's 2 4-issue halves or something, I don't know. But regardless, super cool stuff. Had a fun time. So if anything, the only real critique I have is that the art from McDaid, and I've said this in the previous issues, it's just fine. Like, it's a little bit lacking depth at times. It doesn't. It's like somewhere in that valley between like really good flat art and really good sort of shaded art, where it's not quite hitting good to either. So I just find it okay, and not particularly worse than that either. I never see anything super bad, but I never see anything that I particularly like either.
Yeah, it doesn't particularly stand out. It's perfectly serviceable.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, what are you giving Shazam 19?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I kind of want to as well. I think it just about gets there between the good scene between Billy and Bo, and then the reveal with Bo, the big Freddy climax. I'm going to give it the 8 as well. I kind of wanted to like dock it a half point or maybe a full point for not loving the art, but I think it does just about get there anyway, just because of how much fun I had with all the story.